poverty. We call it poverty. That's what it is. They make us poor, joblessness. You're looking for a job, you can't find it. They fire you for no reason. They underpay you. It's poverty. It's the system here. Internationally, it's called the IMF, World Trade. And let me just make it real simple for people. They just sophisticated loan sharks. What a loan shark does is this. They come in and they make you take money. So if you need some money, then they give you some money. But then they never let you pay it off. No matter if you come back the next day with the money. Now they done changed the terms on you. They just going to make you beholden to them. That's what a loan shark does. Or if they come in to offer you a loan and you won't take it, then they kill you. And they make the next person take the loan. They're going to make you take a loan because their process of having control over you is through debt and through money. So the IMF is a sophisticated loan shark institution. And what they do is they go into black countries and they either ask them to take a loan or they make them take a loan. They kill the leaders, put somebody else in there, and that person takes the loan. And then they create these impossible rules associated with the loan. And all of the rules that you have to follow if you take the money ensure that your country will become enslaved and impoverished. And then once they're impoverished, they own your country and they just do whatever they want to do when they're there. So this is a video. We're only going to show about 5 minutes of it. When you get the actual video, it's going to be 10 minutes. It's going to be longer so you can really get a breadth of understanding. It's a video from our sister Stephanie Black in Jamaica. It's called Life in Debt. And it shows how the IMF completely undermined the entire Jamaican economy and has destroyed that country. That's why you hear about brothers and sisters killing each other. They was doing fine, so the IMF came and destroyed it. We're going to watch 5 minutes, because I want you to see the small hat and watch him smiling and laughing. Hickleberg hat, he's right there. He's with the IMF. And now you can see, instead of me doing a caricature, you can see the real caricature as he explains why they had to destroy the Jamaican economy. He doesn't use those terms, but you'll be able to understand it now.
Seems like they have been wasted, eh? Bueno. Just goes on to show. Till I'm laid to rest. Yes, always be depressed. There's no life in the West. I know the East is the best. All the propaganda then spread. Tongues will have to confess. Oh, I'm in bondage. Living is a mess. And I've got to rise up, alleviate the stress. No longer will I expose my weakness. Ego's knowledge begins with
when the private banks won't lend to you, then you've got to do something if you're leader of the country. And typically what you've got to do is to cut back your spending in some way and try and get more money so that the impact of those cutbacks are not as severe as they otherwise would be. And it's at that point that you generally come to the IMF.
What you really need is to sit down with them and say, look, can I work out a 5-year program? And in the meantime, I'm strapped for some cash, so can you help me up front get out of the cash bind and then put it in the context of a long-term development plan? And they said, no, long-term development is your problem. We are here only to see who do you owe the money to, why are you in a bind, and we'll lend you some money in a very short time frame at full interest rate to get you out of the bind. And they then impose upon you tremendous restrictions in what you can spend.
Essentially what the IMF wanted us to do was to devalue our currency. That's the first thing, to make our dollar cheaper.
They needed to expand their exports and diminish their imports. And the best way of doing that is to make foreign currency more expensive.
And since our society is so heavily dependent on imported food, imported fuel, imported books to go to school, imported medicine, when we devalue, the cost of those things we import go up to the citizens. And as a result, the economy today is much more under the control of foreigners, not necessarily through direct ownership, but through the mechanism of debt. In the 1970s, we owed $800 million. By the end of the 1980s, we owed $4 billion. Nowadays, we owe $7 billion. So the debt is rising, and all the time the debt is rising, our capacity to export, to produce, is getting less.
Farming, which is the backbone of our economy, so to speak, you find that the very farmers where farm them produce, yet right now you have tons of cabbage a waste in Jamaica because goods coming in from America selling cheaper
than what
can be produced here.
Of course it is.
So you find it's just extracting more than putting in.
When it's ready for harvesting, you see imported potato right out in front of your home being sold. Potato that's grown in Idaho or New Brunswick or some other parts.
When I was a little boy, I grew up. Everybody that you see around here, their livelihood was planting peanuts. All those days are over. Over and gone.
All this land is what we used to farm carrots. Now we cannot farm anymore. We don't got any market for it. Because through the foreign carrots.
It's an insult to our dignity of not being able to produce and sell in your own market at home.
This is a free market, and I've learned that because of the financial problem that the government is under with the World Bank and the IMF. They are the one who institute the pressure on the government as far as we learn. Now we had a thing named protective market. The government said no import. And then now we compete with one another. But for the time being, you're open to the world to compete with the world.
Before we was unable to bring in anything because of the policy of the country.
So when the person brings on his trailer, whether he's in Kingston or up here, whether a farmer gets smart and get on the trailer line, he will fill his pocket of money. But what will happen to the other thousands of farmers? So you're fattening a few people at the expense of a whole culture that took years to build up. You destroy it with a stroke of the pen.
He holds the handle and you hold the blade. I mean, you know, if you want the money badly enough, then you have to agree to his terms. So ultimately, the IMF usually gets most of their own way.
Why did we think they should reduce trade barriers? The reason is that Jamaica is a very small country. It's not a country which could sort of thrive by producing only for itself. We believe very firmly that countries are going to grow better if they're integrated into the world economy, and that means reducing tariffs. And it needed to allow its importers, its people, access to goods from the rest of the world, rather than have them rely on this little economy.
In the States, nobody hires money for over 10%. The lowest cost here now is 19%, and it can be as high as 40%.
Typically, in an IMF program, there'll be some assumption about the way interest rates are going to go.
And I remember saying, which are you who are going to face an American farmer and tell him that to borrow something for his farm, he must pay 23%. I said, they'll run you out of the White House and out of Congress. Oh, that's their business. We are dealing with your business.
The farming section is nearly completely wiped out.
Anything that led to the more self-reliance on our resources was strongly discouraged because of this emerging ideology which we now call globalization.
My name is Tom Lipinski. I'm with the United States Potato Board, and we represent about 6,000 potato producers in the United States. One of the markets which we found to be of very much interest is right here in Jamaica.
Get you up here, Mr. Harrison.
There we go. Well, okay. Everybody say potato.
Jamaican potato.
We had offers from Washington from some guys, a group of guys. We asked them what they wanted to buy from us, and there wasn't anything that they could buy from us. They just wanted to sell us potato seeds. We're not short of potato seeds. That's not our problem.
I'll give you a joke. You talk about get goods in the United States. I signed a contract to produce honeydew melon and cherry tomato. And you know what happened? Everything I send to the package, they turn it down, say it not reach the standard. They say don't package good. The size that we have is not meshing with their size. And the system went on so rotten with me that you know what I did? discard it total.
NAFTA or whatever they call them, a free enterprise. They're not free, they flow like the Mississippi. It flows in one direction into the Gulf of Mexico. It never goes back up the hill. And whereas the Gulf of Mexico can absorb it, Jamaica cannot absorb the flow from Europe and from North America, all coming in on us. This is our country, our turf. Give us back our market. Don't try to force your idea on us.
Jamaica produces at the moment in the region of 90,000 tons of bananas, all of which go into the UK, and that is our market.
As far as the banana trade is concerned, we have in Europe a guaranteed market, tariff-free.
The multinationals have set up their government to protest at the level of the WTO and affect the lives of a lot of people in the ACP countries.
On the worrisome banana issue and the recent World Trade Organization ruling, President Bill Clinton assured the Caribbean that his country did not act to the detriment of the Caribbean.
Pursuing and winning our case at the World Trade Organization, our target was a discriminatory European system, not the Caribbean nations. I made it clear that as we work toward a solution with our European partners, we will continue to support duty-free access for Caribbean bananas in the European market, and we will seek ways to promote diversification of the Caribbean economies.
We have no access to the American market. The access we have is to Europe and to England in particular, and that is what Chiquita and the US are trying to kill at this stage. Big companies which are American owned, Chiquita, Dole, and they already control 95% of the world market in bananas. But these companies want the whole hog.
Well, in the past, things was very bright with us. But in the present right now, things low because the production gone down very low. 2 years ago, we had about 150 workers. Today, it's about 15 workers on the farm. My farm in particular, we have been trying to find investors to increase our capital over the last 2-3 years. But especially since the adverse WTO ruling, nobody will touch bananas. The banks won't invest in it, private investors won't invest in it, because the future looks dim.
The farmer here is, banana was on top, banana was good. We could call it green gold in those days, because a farmer could export his banana, he could have a nice dwelling, he could have a car, but no, you just can't, you just living on survival, no.
All we can do, we can plant the banana because we love to plant, right? But we can't sustain our children without banana anymore. And that is the reason, one of the main reasons find the young man on the street now, looting and shooting, because the parents can't help them anymore. Guys, banana, just banana, we used to think of, send our children to school.
Inferior.
We would like to have some better things going for us here than for us to be cut out completely out of the market here in Jamaica.
And abandoned. Everywhere is war. It's a war that until they're no longer first class and second class citizens of any nation, until the color of a man's skin is of no more significance than the color of his eyes. Miss a war that until the basic human rights are equally guaranteed to all without regard to race.
He said, he who holds the handle lets you hold the blade. So they went in, and now, and again, when you get the video, when it comes out, it'll be out in 2 weeks, it actually shows you how that led to thousands of Jamaican people, brothers and sisters, who had good lives based on farming, simple life, hard work, but they were able to send their children to school and do, get the things that they wanted and live a peaceful life. Now their sons are in the streets murdering and killing each other because they have nothing.